When people cross the age of 50, they often believe hair loss is simply a cosmetic inconvenience, something inevitable that must be accepted quietly. But the body is never careless, and it never acts without reason. Hair thinning after 50 is not random. It is a biological message. It is the scalp reflecting what is happening deep inside the terrain of the body. Every hair follicle is a living organ with its own blood supply, immune activity, and metabolic needs. When those needs are met, hair grows. When they are blocked, hair retreats. This is not punishment, it is feedback. Over time, modern living slowly deprives the body of certain nutrients while quietly introducing substances that interfere with absorption, circulation, and cellular repair. The result is follicles that are alive but dormant, waiting for conditions to improve. Science shows us that hair does not require stimulation from outside products nearly as much as it requires nourishment from within. And the fascinating truth is that the same nutrients that support hair regrowth also restore skin resilience, immune balance, and energy production. At the same time, there are nutrients that appear helpful on the surface, yet silently disrupt mineral balance, hormone signaling, or blood flow, effectively blocking regrowth even when the diet seems adequate. When we understand which nutrients rebuild follicle strength and which ones quietly interfere, hair health stops being mysterious. It becomes predictable, logical, and reversible through informed choices that respect the body's design rather than fighting against it. Protein is often spoken about as if it were a single concept. But within the body, it is not a substance, it is a process. After the age of 50, the issue is rarely how much protein a person eats, but how well the body can break it down, absorb it, and deliver its amino acids to tissues that depend on rapid renewal. Hair follicles sit at the top of that list. They are metabolically active structures that cycle continuously through growth, rest, and shedding. When amino acids arrive consistently, the follicle remains in its growth phase longer. When supply becomes irregular, the follicle shifts into conservation mode, shortening the growth cycle and producing thinner strands. With age, stomach acid naturally declines, digestive enzymes weaken, and gut lining integrity becomes compromised. This means that even a protein-rich diet can fail to deliver usable building blocks to the follicle. Science shows that inadequate digestion leads to amino acids being diverted away from non-essential survival functions like hair toward vital organs instead. The body is not malfunctioning in this state, it is prioritizing survival over appearance. Another overlooked factor is insulin sensitivity. When blood sugar regulation deteriorates, amino acid transport into cells becomes inefficient, further reducing follicle nourishment. Certain proteins are also more demanding on digestion than others. Heavily processed protein isolates can strain an already weakened digestive system, while whole food proteins provide amino acids alongside enzymes, minerals, and cofactors that support absorption. The follicle does not require excess protein. It requires steady availability. When intake fluctuates wildly, follicles experience repeated interruptions in growth signaling. Over time, this trains the follicle to remain dormant longer. Protein deficiency at the cellular level also affects keratin structure, weakening the hair shaft from the root outward and increasing breakage that mimics hair loss. Importantly, stress hormones rise when protein intake or absorption is insufficient, and elevated cortisol directly suppresses hair growth signaling. This creates a cycle where poor digestion leads to stress chemistry, and stress chemistry further blocks protein utilization. Restoring hair regrowth begins not with aggressive stimulation, but with rebuilding the digestive environment so amino acids can reach the follicle reliably and without competition. Allowing growth signals to stabilize naturally, minerals operate quietly in the background of hair biology, yet their absence is often the first signal that regrowth will stall after 50. Iron, zinc, iodine, and copper do not make hair directly, but they control the systems that decide whether hair growth is permitted at all. Iron governs oxygen delivery to the follicle, and when iron availability drops, the body reduces blood flow to non-essential tissues, including the scalp. This does not require clinical anemia. Even low normal iron can shorten the hair growth phase. Zinc acts as a regulator of cell division and repair, and without it, Follicles lose their ability to recover after shedding. Iodine influences thyroid hormones, which set the metabolic pace for every cell in the body. When thyroid signaling slows, hair follicles respond immediately by entering a resting phase. Copper supports cross-linking of collagen and elastin around the follicle, maintaining the structural environment needed for strong regrowth. What complicates this further is that absorption of these minerals declines with age due to reduced stomach acid and competitive interference from processed foods. Excess calcium, for example, can block iron and zinc absorption, while refined sugars increase mineral loss through the kidneys. Chronic inflammation also alters how minerals are distributed, pulling them away from hair follicles toward immune activity. Another overlooked factor is the role of antinutrients found in certain processed grains and legumes when improperly prepared. These compounds bind minerals in the gut, making them unavailable even when intake appears sufficient. The body interprets mineral scarcity as a signal of environmental stress, and hair growth is one of the first processes to be downregulated. At the same time, toxic metals and environmental chemicals compete with essential minerals for receptor sites, further impairing function. This creates a scenario where nutrients may be present in the diet but absent at the follicle. Restoring mineral balance is not about high-dose supplementation, but about reducing blockers, improving digestive conditions, and ensuring steady bioavailable intake. When minerals are restored gradually and consistently, follicles regain metabolic confidence, signaling that conditions are safe for regeneration and sustained growth. Hormonal signaling becomes one of the most decisive influences on hair behavior after 50. And nutrition quietly shapes this signaling every single day. Hair follicles are extremely sensitive to shifts in estrogen, insulin, cortisol, and thyroid hormones. And when these signals become distorted, follicles respond by thinning, shortening their growth phase, or entering prolonged rest. After menopause, estrogen declines naturally, but the problem is not the drop itself, it is the imbalance that follows. Estrogen normally protects follicles by improving blood flow and prolonging the growth cycle. When it falls, follicles become more vulnerable to inflammatory signals and androgen activity. Certain nutrients help soften this transition by supporting hormone metabolism in the liver and gut. Fiber, rich whole foods assist the body in clearing excess or harmful hormone byproducts, preventing them from recirculating and irritating follicles. Healthy fats provide the raw material for hormone production and help stabilize blood sugar, which directly influences insulin levels. When insulin spikes repeatedly due to refined carbohydrates, it triggers a cascade that increases androgen activity, subtly shrinking hair follicles over time. Cortisol, the stress hormone, plays an equally damaging role. Chronic stress diverts nutrients away from hair and towards survival systems, while simultaneously pushing follicles into premature shedding. Magnesium B vitamins and steady glucose availability help calm this response, signaling safety to the nervous system. Thyroid hormones act as the master regulators of cellular energy, and even mild disruption slows the metabolic activity of follicles. Iodine, selenium, and adequate protein support proper thyroid signaling, but excessive restriction or poor absorption can impair this balance. The gut also participates in hormonal regulation by influencing how hormones are activated or deactivated. An unhealthy gut microbiome can convert otherwise harmless hormones into more aggressive forms that affect hair roots. Fermented and whole foods help restore microbial balance, indirectly protecting follicles. What often goes unnoticed is that hormones do not act in isolation. They speak to each other constantly. When blood sugar is unstable, cortisol rises, insulin misfires, and thyroid signaling weakens, creating a hostile environment for hair growth. Nutrition acts as the mediator that restores harmony among these signals. When the body senses nutritional sufficiency and metabolic stability, hormonal messages soften, inflammation quiets, and follicles receive permission to re-enter active growth. Hair regrowth in this stage of life is not forced. It emerges naturally when hormonal communication is gently corrected through consistent dietary support. Micronutrients, though required in small amounts, exert an outsized influence on the health and vitality of hair, particularly after the age of 50, when the body's absorption efficiency begins to decline. Hair follicles are some of the most metabolically active structures in the body, requiring a constant supply of vitamins and minerals to maintain the energy and building blocks necessary for keratin production and structural integrity. Iron, for instance, carries oxygen to the rapidly dividing follicular cells, and even marginal deficiency can lead to noticeable thinning and brittleness. Zinc plays a dual role both in regulating the hair growth cycle and in supporting the enzymatic reactions that protect follicles from oxidative stress. When zinc levels drop, follicles may enter a premature resting phase, slowing the visible growth of hair. Vitamin D has a signaling function, binding to receptors in hair follicles and influencing the timing of growth phases. Insufficient vitamin D can contribute to delayed regrowth and weaker strands. B-complex vitamins, particularly biotin, B12 and folate, are critical cofactors in energy metabolism and DNA synthesis, processes essential for follicle division and hair shaft elongation. Without adequate B vitamin support, follicles cannot sustain the rapid pace of keratinocyte production, resulting in weaker hair and increased shedding. Antioxidant nutrients such as vitamin C and vitamin E protect follicles from free radical damage, which accumulates more rapidly with age and environmental exposure. These antioxidants maintain the follicle's microvascular environment, ensuring sufficient blood flow and nutrient delivery. Selenium, a trace mineral, supports the production of enzymes that neutralize peroxides in the follicular environment, further preventing oxidative damage. Even magnesium, often overlooked, plays a quiet but pivotal role in cellular energy transfer, affecting the ATP-dependent processes that drive hair growth. When these micronutrients are present in the diet consistently, they create an environment where hair follicles can remain active and resilient despite the hormonal and metabolic changes that accompany aging. Conversely, diets lacking in these critical nutrients can accelerate thinning, brittleness, and hair loss, highlighting the delicate balance between what we consume and the signals that dictate hair vitality. Achieving this balance is not about excess supplementation, but about creating a nutrient-dense foundation that supports follicular resilience, allowing hair to respond naturally to the body's changing internal environment. Lifestyle choices, though often overlooked, exert a profound influence on hair regrowth after 50, often tipping the balance between robust strands and fragile, thinning hair. Chronic stress, for example, triggers the release of cortisol and other stress hormones that interfere with the normal hair growth cycle, pushing follicles into a prolonged resting phase and slowing visible regrowth. Even seemingly minor sleep disruptions can compound this effect, as restorative sleep is essential for cellular repair, nutrient utilization, and hormonal balance, all factors that directly impact follicle health. Hydration plays a surprisingly crucial role. Follicles are composed largely of water-dependent cells, and even mild dehydration can reduce the elasticity and structural integrity of emerging hair shafts, making them more prone to breakage. Exposure to environmental toxins, such as heavy metals, pollutants, and certain cosmetic chemicals, further burdens the follicles, generating oxidative stress that impairs cellular function and diminishes the follicle's natural regenerative capacity. Physical activity, on the other hand, promotes circulation, ensuring a steady delivery of oxygen and nutrients to the scalp, which supports the high metabolic demands of growing follicles. Smoking introduces free radicals and narrows microvascular blood flow, accelerating follicular aging, while excessive alcohol can impair the absorption of essential nutrients, subtly undermining hair quality over time. The timing and composition of meals also play a role. Consistently skipping protein-rich foods or relying heavily on processed carbohydrates can limit the amino acids and micronutrients necessary for keratin synthesis, while diets rich in colorful vegetables, lean proteins, and healthy fats provide a spectrum of compounds that strengthen the follicular environment. Gentle hair care practices, including avoiding high heat styling, harsh chemical treatments, and tight hairstyles that stress the scalp, further preserve the integrity of the follicles, allowing them to maintain consistent growth. Even simple practices like scalp massage can stimulate circulation and promote follicular responsiveness. Together, these lifestyle factors create either a nurturing or detrimental environment for hair, demonstrating that regrowth is not solely dictated by age or genetics, but by the cumulative effects of daily choices. Integrating mindful, supportive habits into the routine can significantly enhance the follicle's ability to regenerate, resulting in thicker, healthier hair that reflects the body's internal balance and resilience. Don't forget to subscribe to Ageless Health Insight for more practical tips on healthy hair, skin and overall wellness after 50.